Welcome to step 30, all about equations of circles. So step 30 says I can use an equation to identify or describe a circle. So this is in our book, chapter 9, section 7. We're actually only going to do the first two examples. The book kind of gets a little complicated, more in depth than we really want for this section. So the big equation that we're worried about is right here. This is our equation of a circle. So x minus h, y minus k, square them, r squared. Okay, so for this, the two things we're worried about in a circle are this h and k. Those are new. We haven't used an h and a k yet. So what those represent is the center of our circle. Okay, so the center is h comma k. So whatever the x coordinate of the center is, we're going to subtract that from x. Whatever the y coordinate of the center is k, and then we're going to subtract that. And then r, hopefully you remember, is always the radius. So we jump into our first problem. Okay, so we have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals whatever our radius is squared. So we have to figure out, though, what is the only three things we're changing. What is h, what is k, and what is our radius? Okay, h and k come from the center, so the x coordinate right here is our h, so x is positive 1, k is negative 8, that's our y coordinate, and r would be 7. So when I go ahead and plug these into our equation, we would have x minus what h is, which is 1, squared, plus y minus whatever k is, which happens to be negative 8 squared, equals whatever our r was squared. So once we plug everything in, we're just going to simplify. And we're not going to FOIL and do all that fun, crazy algebra stuff. We're just going to simply leave this x minus 1 squared just like it is. The issue in the second set of parentheses is we have this double negative here, okay? We don't like when we have two operations back to back like that. So instead of y minus a negative 8, this becomes a plus with those double negatives. So it's y plus 8 squared equals, and then 7 squared is 49. Okay, so this would be our final answer. We're not worried about graphing it. We're just worried right now about writing the equation. So notice, because we have these minus signs, y minus h and y minus k, all that does is it changes the sign of h and k. So notice positive 1h became a negative 1, negative 8 became a positive 8, and then we squared our radius. So let's do one more like this before we move on. So if we're looking at this graph, okay, remember our equation, x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. We need h, we need k, and we need r. So our center is at 0, 4, which means h is 0, k is 4, and then to count our radius, I could do it off to the side or I could do it straight up and down. I'm going to just count the blocks until I get to the edge, and it would be 3. So when I go to plug that in, x minus h, which was 0, y minus k, which was 4. Okay, and then the only thing we can do to simplify this equation is x minus 0. Anything minus 0 is just itself. So this would simplify to just x squared. And we can leave the y minus 4 alone. Oh, I forgot to plug in 3. 3 squared, so that would be 9. And that would be our answer. Okay, we're going to look at one, hopefully quickly, way to do our next problem. So our equation again, x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. So the two things we need the center which it says is -2, 4. So h is -2, k is 4. But we also need our radius, okay? We don't have the radius, but we know another point that the circle passes through. So what we're going to use instead is our distance formula. X minus x squared plus y minus y squared. Okay, and remember, either point can be the x2 and the x1, vice versa. Just make sure you pull from the same point. So if I say x1, y1, x2, y2, I would get the square root. So let's say -2 minus a -6 squared plus 4 minus 7 squared. And from here, we're going to go ahead and just put it all straight into our calculator. And it all simplifies down to the square root of 25, which is nicely just 5. So our radius is 5. Now we can go ahead and plug that into our equation. X minus the center was, so we have minus the -2. Y minus 4, and then our radius, which is 5 squared. So this would be x plus 2, y minus 4 equals 25. And that's it for step 30.